Hi, I'm the Fear Turkey, and I'm joined here with...
Mischief,
Dr. Feelgood,
and Death Spot 62.
You don't have to say the 62 part, he's just a little spot.
welcome to this week's Laser Tag Podcast. We're going to start talking about some of the games that we got to play on TNT Tuesday Night Tag, starting with, is it Random? We had, was that Zach was his name? Player 1? Chilling on our team?
Yeah, that was a random.
Was it really?
Yeah, it was. That was the very first game we played.
Oh, yes, it was.
So, I remember that. You guys only had 4 people. And it's pretty much just like me versus Josiah on the top floor. While Seth went downstairs. Yeah, you and Seth were just kind of going ham. And you helped me take out Josiah a lot, too.
I will say that I was wearing a 50-pound vest during the first 4 games.
Yeah, Fear Turkey was doing some hardcore exercises where he had a 50-pound vest on while he was running around, trying to duck around walls and tag people. And how, on a scale of 1 to 10, how are you feeling?
What does regret stand for on that scale?
2,000.
I'm at about 1999 right there.
All right.
Not over 9,000?
Not quite to regret, but a little below it.
See, after that, we had the most people we possibly could for the night. Fear Turkey and I were on resupplies, and you were getting... It seemed like you were playing ammo and I was playing medic, just with our styles being so different. You were up in the faces of the enemy, fighting for our freedom, and I was kind of hiding behind a wall the whole time.
That's not how it felt. I felt like I was getting reset a lot, so I kept running away. That's about how that one felt. That's why I kept running away to Funbox, but...
I did see you tag some people over the top. I think you just like to tag people.
That is true. I do enjoy playing laser tag.
How'd that game feel for you, Dr. Feelgood?
I was real triggered.
So you were playing heavy.
I was real triggered with my scout not doing anything.
Let's see, you were up against Joe. Looks like he did some work on you.
Joe was medic.
Sergeant Tucker was commander of that game.
There's 2 Joes.
Oh, Jojo.
I always call Josiah, because I know that Joe is Joe.
Yeah. Yeah, Josephine was wrecking me. Not even gonna lie. I was having some issues. It wasn't even really I wasn't losing my trades. I just didn't have any support. So fighting Joe and who was the heavy? Oh,
John.
Joe and John.
Memosaurus.
TM. I love that. Yeah, I was just having issues because I didn't have any support and we were down a man and our medic died pretty early.
I gotta say, I do think that John has some pretty good heavy potential. He's really good about his trades, and he seems to get a lot more protective when he's playing heavy, and he sticks in a really close proximity with them. He's never anxious to run off and attack.
I actually really disagree. I think the reason he's not anxious is because he doesn't, know where to attack, basically. Because, when he is attacking, he plays exactly the same as he does when he's playing Commander. He just, runs in and shoots stuff,
But he does it in the proximity of the resupplies the whole time.
Yeah,
which
so
in a way can work.
It's kind of mid-rangey. It's more static. He's more towards midfield instead of being
Close
completely offense kind of thing. Yeah. Which was nice. I liked it.
I mean, we did survive that game and win.
We were hitting all our doubles, so...
I still don't like playing resupplies with you.
That's fine.
You are not my speed.
You don't have to.
It's like a total, it's a total domination submission thing with me in the resupplies. I think that one person should just be in charge and the other person should just listen. So when I'm playing medic, I usually just completely curl up and let the ammo tell me exactly what to do. And I get kind of bossy when I'm the ammo. But you're a free spirit, so it just didn't work.
Your chains can't hold me, Mr. Skywalker.
This game was a little tilting.
This
for
is the game that
entire time.
this is the first game that we're watching here on the podcast on the video camera. I think you should explain from your perspective what happened.
So,
Dr. Feelgood.
so being completely unbiased and just telling it how it is, and what happened was, Joe and I was heavy. Yes, I was the heavy, and then you, Fear Turkey, and Sergeant Tucker were our resupplies. And basically what ended up happening was I led the charge up into the 3rd floor, up into the fun box, and we held that down for a good second. I was able to down everybody on the 3rd floor, and I started pushing up. Our scout, Mason, he got tagged on his way up the ramp, as well as Joe. Caleb, Mr. Slaughtermelon, tagged Joe. I believe he tagged Joe? I don't remember. No, he tagged Mason on his way up the ramp, and then just straight up followed him up the ramp into the fun box and started resetting off of Joe and Mason, and that tilted Mr. Joe a little hard, and it tilted me a little bit too because we didn't have any ammo. He died in the first couple minutes of the game, and that was pretty much GG, no re at that point.
Yeah, that's rough. When you lose your ammo right away, there's no way to win.
Yeah, I remember looking at Josiah, and I was like, please God, tell me you're the ammo, and he just kind of smiled at me, and I knew it was over.
I definitely tagged him and gave him lives in the rebuttal.
Oh, we had
Not
lives.
enough, apparently.
I ended up surviving with 4 lives. No
had-
shots, no missiles.
I had 2 shots remaining when Joe died, and I only used 1 on fighting, so that was nice. I kept you guys full enough that we survived, so we didn't get elimed at the very least.
Yeah, it was still rough.
We still lost the match because our boy Joe was real bad at getting bases, but it's all right.
Well,
Our boy
he
Joe
was
is
dead.
also real bad about shouting at players for cheating instead of just getting away from them.
Well, I don't know. From the cameraman's perspective, it seemed like they just had a really good push. Caleb and Seth just came in as the 3 shots. Totally downed all 5 of you, and when Joe was getting away, it looked like Caleb was just able to get multiple shots off on him.
Caleb,
I think when he got over to the
illegally
fun
pushed
box.
us was the problem, was that we got illegally pushed. It wasn't so much the fact that we just lost the trade, it was that we lost the trade, tried to retreat, and then couldn't retreat because Mr. Slaughtermelon wasn't keeping an eye on his trails and just straight up followed our scout all the way up the ramp and reset our ammo to death.
Hey man, karma got him back, so
Oh yeah.
Yeah, let's talk about the next game.
The next game very much did not go that way. Yikes.
Josiah was Fear Turkey's out for revenge. And you were too, it looks like, Dr. Feelgood. You got second highest score as the medic.
Yeah, I got 3 achievements and 5K on the board as a medic.
When I was watching
With
that
a
game,
life.
watching that game, you looked like the ammo the whole time, and like John was the medic, just because you and Josiah had the same kind of complex.
Yeah, John and I were doing beautiful. Like, we were doing all right on our doubles. We hit each other with the resupplies at least 7 times. Things were looking a little sketchy there for a second. That's why I ended up with 1 life and not like 10, because John and I just kind of got reset by Caleb and Seth for a minute. But as soon as we were able to kind of get the pressure off of us, it was over. But I remember going from 15 lives to like 4 real quick.
I definitely dropped 3 nukes and killed like 2 of them.
Yeah,
so,
that took the pressure off of us like that.
Because I know I killed their medic and their heavy with 1, like, in 1 chain. Because, or maybe not. Oh no.
Yeah, you killed...
It was totally their scout.
You killed John and Caleb with your nuke chain.
I killed Ben too with the nukes.
Yeah.
Because I got a really cheeky... On my first nuke, I saw him run into a cubby and there was no trail, so I ran up. I missiled him in between the first and second nuke dropping. And so he lost 2 off of that, and then he dropped another 3. He started running away. I shot him, got my third nuke, dropped, and then as he was running down, I got another shot on him on the ramp. And he died.
Ben is a Raiden for anyone watching.
Raiden GL.
Raiden, good luck. That game we still lost the match. We won that game by a landslide, but we lost the match from bases totally.
I don't understand what you mean when you say that.
We lost by like 3,000 points because that match before, the enemy team got their entire row of bases, which gave them 2,000 points on each of their scores. So, like, if all 5 of you get your bases, that's an extra 10,000 points.
Right.
Not all of us got our bases.
But we still won.
But we didn't take the match. So, in a match, in a tournament-style play, you end up seeing 2 separate games, okay? You play once on red side and play once on green side, or the other way around. But you try and maximize your scores in the first game, and then you try and maximize your scores in the second game. However, if you get an elimination, you get an additional 10,000 points added on. Both of those games, their point totals get added together. Does that make sense? So, all of their points added together versus all our points added together, we were down by like 2,000 points. I think Mason improved the most, primarily because he's been working a lot on initiative stuff, like doing it himself as opposed to like looking for directions. Sometimes he still stays back and isn't really sure what to do, but that's part of being a new player. He doesn't even have 100 Space Marine games on his plate, so I don't really like have those expectations for him to really know the game at all. Mm-hmm. And he like probably better than any of the scouts that we have below like 300 games knows when to use rapid fire and how to utilize it the most. Like, I've seen this kid activate rapid fire, give me this dumb look on his face, and he says, "Joe, I'm activating rapid fire," and then he goes in and just massacres an entire team and then gets shot once and runs away. But like, he totally has it in him, and I really like seeing the way that he's growing as a player, I guess. What about
seeing him become a lot more aware as far as being a defensive player? He's getting a little better about not letting people reset off of him and use him and his lack of experience to their advantage. Like when Caleb comes in, he's willing to let people shoot him. I saw in a couple of videos and get the resets off. Or actually, I saw him tagging Dylan on his own team in order to keep Caleb a 3-shot down. And that was an advanced mechanic I hadn't seen him use at all for this first time.
However, to add to that, I was the heavy, and I should have been resetting off of him.
You were down, though. He was up.
Yeah.
It had to be him.
You also were refusing to reset him anyways, so...
What do you mean?
I mean, you weren't resetting him anyways. There's a clip in the video where you were, like, tagging, where you're just, like, sitting there looking at Caleb, and Mason is standing right behind you, and you could have just, like, shot Mason, turned, and missiled Caleb, but instead you just, like, sat there looking at him, and he was just, like, he just got up and shot both of you.
My problem is that I'm too used to being a scout, and I'm not ever the one that's supposed to reset onto a 3-shot, and then I'm like, why doesn't our heavy just reset Caleb? Oh, I'm the heavy! And then by then it was too late.
At least you figure it out eventually.
It's a lot to get used to. And Mason's getting really good at that, I think, because he's playing scouts so much in our arena. I never use rapid fire whenever you look at my scoreboard when I play scout, because I never get to play scout. I think he's just getting really used to that mindset of being the scout, and he's learning how to use his abilities.
What about you? Who do you think has improved the most?
Seth Zenless is one of our most experienced players. I think he has the 3rd or 4th highest amount of Space Marines games out of all of us. But I think tonight he showed his ability to do offense really well. We've always known him as this incredible resupply, and he plays a mean heavy too. We already knew that. But tonight when I was watching him, I was seeing him really bring out his firepower, being able to come in and tag multiple people down at once, use his reflexes and speed instead of just using that head of his, where he's kind of slowly and patiently moving around and outsmarting his opponents. He's able to do it all. And I think for him, that's a pretty big improvement.
I think all I've ever played is a scout, actually. think I've ever even played a resupply.
What do you want to play?
I don't know. I've only really played scout or maybe heavy weapons, but I mean, I've only really played it as if it was just a normal laser tag game. I've never really kind of seen the other things about it.
Yeah, it takes a little bit to start like seeing what every role does and how you as a player can impact the game based on your position.
You know what that means, right, Death Spot? It's
Wha-
time to start playing laser tag.
You know what? That's going to be happening in the start of November.
Ooh.
Looking
nice.
forward to it. Your head's gonna be on that.
Mark it on your
scoreboard.
calendars. Death Spot's coming to LLT 2K17 November.
Santa's coming to town.
Well, actually, just like, coming as a consistent, like,
As a member.
I come like once every like blue moon.
Dylan, who do you think improved the most?
Because I came.
Literally did not come. So
I should come though.
Pollux?
I'm improving a lot.
Pollux.
He went from not coming at all to coming soon, which is an improvement in my eyes.
Yeah, thanks. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I think that Calkins is making extreme leaps and bounds. He's really starting to figure out at the same pace or higher than Mason, kind of those advanced mechanics where like resets, like the resupplies resupplying each other. His positioning is really good. Josiah and I were talking about it earlier. His trading is really strong. He's always somebody that I can count on to synergize well with. He and I think play very similarly. So I know that no matter what I put him on, I can trust him to work well with whatever I'm on. Rather him being a commander and I'm a resupply, I can count on him to kind of keep pressure off of us. For both resupplies, we're really, really good about getting each other. We're almost perfect on our communication with each other as far as doubles and gunfighting goes. He and I, we had a joke with Troy that John and I were our own heavy because Seth was somewhere else doing something and Troy, being the commander, came up on the ramp and could not get to John and I because we were just putting him down. And that was my battle medic game. It was kind of funny. We just kind of traded places and I was like, ain't nobody touching my ammo.
This is John, the one that's going to be training me, right?
Yes. So by the way, I told him that Calkins would be a good person to kind of tutor him since they're identical body types.
All right, so we're going to talk about our thoughts for A and B team. We already made a whole big deal out of this in our first podcast, so we're just going to discuss some minor things that might have changed over the past week or two. What do you think, man?
So, there are some people, and
Ooh, someone's catching your eye, you say?
some
Ooh.
eyes have been caught.
Who's the lucky lady?
The lucky lady's name is Dylan.
Oh!
Whoa!
Oh!
Oh! Who's that? Anyways,
Oh, that's creepy. We're in a parking lot and all the lights just went off.
yeah, I like it. Makes me feel at home.
Anyway,
I don't know which one of you that was, but it was not me. Anyways,
that was
so
the chair.
the person really catching my eye for A team is Dr. Feelgood, HP Memecraft. I don't know what he's going by anymore.
Dr. Feelgood. We've discussed this last time.
But
should
you
put
keep
it all in
using the
one card.
But you keep using the Memecraft.
You gave me the Minecraft card!
But
Because
you
that's the only card I have!
I don't know what to tell you, man.
I guess I could get the name changed, huh?
Anyways, so Dr. Feelgood is kind of at that weird spot where he's like right in between A team and B team in terms of his player rating. He's what he lacks in experience, he kind of brings back in just hard work, and he's been doing super well involving just like persevering and like having issues and trying to overcome them, as opposed to having those issues and being like, well, this sucks, I guess I quit kind of thing. And I really appreciate that, I guess, is how I want to say it. The person that also catches my eye involving that is actually who we were talking about earlier, Zenless. Seth, he is so good at laser tag, and he's been improving in all of his weak spots. He's just like, he's, if not the most consistent player at our site, he's one of the most consistent. Like, even if he doesn't play at like this like S tier master laser tag player level, you always know what to expect from him, and you can constantly count on him to put out that type of that level of play, right?
I agree with that completely. He's definitely one that's been catching my eye as well. Like I was saying earlier, he's showing that he can be flexible in terms of going offensive when he has to, as well as being a great defensive coordinator. His show of firepower over just using his brain is what's making the deal more solidified for me. Because in terms of players coming out to the tournament, we're going to be outmatched in terms of outthinking them. These players are better than us because they have so much more experience than us, and they think about the game on a whole nother level compared to us. Even if we're trying to get up to that level, there's still quite a few tournaments ahead of us. So a lot of that will have to be made up for in firepower. We need players that can just be so aggressive and crazy good at tagging you before you tag them to get any kind of an edge in this arena.
We need players that can play to a strength that forms points as opposed to something that takes away lives. Which isn't something that we necessarily can't get. It's just something that doesn't really help in terms of like actually playing against these teams in different arenas, stuff like that. It's the raw firepower and the amount of like just the trades that you do. Winning trades doesn't matter if you don't know what to do with it, kind of thing. Like, if we really focus on that, maybe we can get an edge out of those kinds of stuff. But having players that can play every single class, players that can
adapt to situations that are unfavorable is a big one for me.
Not panic is so important. Like, the panicky players are the ones that are scary because you never know whether or not they're going to run away or if they're just going to keep fighting.
Yeah. Which brings me kind of the opposite point to Slaughtermelon. Now, I've been watching this guy. He's come to us to a lot of tournaments. He's an incredibly strong player, which is... He's a bit the opposite of Zenless in that he has a ton of firepower. He can tag players almost as fast as you can, Turkey, but the thing about it is that he knows it, and I feel like when I'm watching him, he doesn't try to outsmart players because he just relies so much on being able to hit him in the face as hard as he can, faster than they can hit him back. I'll see him come up to the enemy resupplies. He'll just kind of like walk in. He'll get his tags off, but if somebody can tag him, he'll just kind of walk behind the wall right next to him and wait to come up, and he'll just go at it again and again and again. Or even he'll just stand there and he'll wait. If everyone's down, including him, he'll just try to rely on it, on his reflexes by standing there, pulling the trigger, and waiting for him to come up.
He does jump sometimes.
He does do cool little tricks like that. I have seen him do jumps.
Not really a squad.
But
though.
at least when I play heavy against him, I know what he's going to do. And I think what I need to see a little more from Slaughtermelon is an effort to outsmart his opponents and smash them in the face. Because if he can just get behind them without them knowing he's there, he would easily take out an entire resupply base. Heavy, ammo, and medic. But he falls short a lot because he just doesn't try to outsmart them. One of the
key things on that note is he really does know how to tag people down. Whenever I'm not playing Commander, the very first person I think of who should be is always Slaughtermelon. And even sometimes I think maybe Caleb should be playing Commander even when like other people keep like saying otherwise. And the reason is because we have that raw fighting strengths, but we sometimes are just super lazy about like the way that we try and go about situations, because sometimes we're like, well, I could probably beat this person down before they could do anything, right?
Especially on third floor when it's only narrow hallways. Sometimes the commander can't move very much.
It makes it so that you can't really like rely on us to necessarily do spectacular things or create adverse situations for the enemy outside of the adverse situation that's already us, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's no variety. It's always the same, just like smashing our head against a brick wall. However, sometimes that can create a positive situation. I don't know which one of you that was, but when we keep smashing our heads against walls, sometimes those walls can break down. And that leads me to my next point, which is Sergeant Tucker. Sergeant Tucker is that brick wall. But when that brick wall starts coming down, he has so many issues in game with adapting to situations if he's not in full form. He comes into this situation where he almost panics, but it's not panicking, it's like aggravated. Like, he gets super frustrated, and it makes it so he can't really think about what he wants to do.
Joe reacts to bad situations the way that I used to on a much less extreme level, but always.
He's different. He's very inward. He's not really outward.
Right, I know, but like he puts himself in his own head when things go wrong, because Joe is very much the type of player that is the best resupply or heavy that you can find if things are going well, but as soon as the plan starts tumbling down, he doesn't have a contingency plan and has a tough time rolling the dice, is what I see a lot from Joe, is that he doesn't like to take risks. He's like, no, I know it works, I don't want to do this, I don't, like, this is going to put us at a disadvantage. He does try and do everything that he can to stay on top of the game, but sometimes that's his own worst enemy.
So it's kind of weird with him, because usually playing safe is the right way to do it. Because if you play safe, you're playing off of guarantees, which means I guarantee you if the commander shoots me twice, I can at least shoot him once, kind of thing. And he plays that card, which is not risky, and it's super consistent. However, if a ref doesn't see a follow, something like that, he'll get hooked on it, and he'll hang on to that. And when he keeps hanging on to these things, eventually it builds up, and it'll start weighing down his gameplay. And, like, don't get me wrong, he is such a good laser tag player. I've seen him tag people down. He's really improving on his firepower. He can play basically every role to the fullest capacity that he, as a player, is. And he continuously comes up with new ideas, which is nice. Like, we don't have a lot of diversity in our site because not a lot of people know what Space Marines is.
Yeah. To me, he's definitely one of the top contenders. Honestly, he's got firepower close to some of our top players, and he's got game sense higher than most of us. He's been to the tournaments with us. He knows the game rules back and forth. But I don't know what you're trying to show me.
I'm just trying to hand it to you if you want this.
Oh, I'm good.
The
Thanks,
actual
man.
stuff. All right.
I've memorized that spreadsheet.
Yeah, I know you've added 9 columns.
So Joe just needs to know that he is up there with the other players, and if he needs to take a risk, he's capable of doing that. I feel like I had something smart to say.
You can
I
do
really
it.
don't. He does get in his head, and he can start to inwardly panic about things, because I think in his head he wants to take care of it himself, and I don't think he trusts his team to fully, like, solve the problem on their own without him doing it for them, which I can completely understand, since we typically play with a lot of newer players.
I'm the same way, Tucker.
Team.
I am the same way.
And I can tell that he's trying to figure out ways to solve the problem, like, based on whatever his role is. Or if he's playing a resupply and he can't solve the problem, I can just tell he feels helpless. So I guess seeing how he reacts when he has really competent teammates is important, because that might all just go away.
Speaking of competent teammates, our next person on the list is Loki.
I like me some Loki.
Mr. Troy.
I'll start with this one if you don't mind.
Yeah, you're good.
You know what? Troy's our most experienced player. He's a stealthy, conniving, intelligent, aware, perceptive, shadowy, and kind-hearted player. And he's an absolute asset to have on any team because not only does he modify his play style to help the people around him, like if there's too much offense and the defense is getting destroyed, he'll hang back. Or vice versa. If like the commander just needs a minute, he'll go attack on his own and give the team the time he needs. My only thing is, when I'm watching the videotape, sometimes I see him come around corners. It's almost like he's giving away shots to people. He just needs to get better about dueling.
He really does suffer in the whole trading aspect of laser tag. He doesn't really have a menacing force in his own words, and it's hard for him to like come around corners faster than other players just because like he's just not that kind of player. Like
He's the thinker. He's trying to get the upper edge on people, and when he's behind you, you know he's gonna do that constantly.
Well, if he gets behind you, you're going down regardless of what classes you guys are, stuff like that.
He knows it.
He almost puts all of his effort into getting behind you as opposed to just like tagging you when he has the opportunity. So it's almost like instead of taking like the first thing that comes to mind or like even the second thing, he like second guesses himself. It's like it's not a lack of self-confidence, but it is at the same time. Like he knows what he's able to do. It's just he doesn't want to do it unless he feels like it's going to impact the most.
Yeah, and I used to be that way before I realized I had to start learning how to duel if I were ever going to keep up with you and like stop you from destroying my resupplies whenever I play heavy. It's just a matter of being willing to take that risk. Being willing to come around the corner and risk getting shot, but also knowing that you're going to pull the trigger as well and just see what you get. I think if he's willing to just let loose on outsmarting the players and trying to be a Caleb level force of just walking in and destroying people, he won't be good at it at first, but he'll practice it and he'll get better.
I love the fact that Slaughtermelon is one of our measurement systems for how good someone is.
He's a cannonball.
Yeah. So, Troy plays laser tag like it's chess. While that's a very, like, it's incredibly intelligent and it is logically, gives him the upper hand in every scenario, because it's such a fast-paced game, sometimes, if you do make a wrong move, or if you think too long about your move, that can really kind of jack you up.
Yeah, you can miss your opportunity.
Whereas Caleb plays laser tag like whack-a-mole.
I like me some whack-a-mole. It's a whack-a-joe.
So, oh my God.
Come here, Tucker.
Joe. He's gonna get so tilted listening to this. No, but so
Dabbing in the middle of crossfire.
yeah.
Death spot.
I don't know. It's very weird because there's no like denying that Caleb's an extremely powerful force and that like Troy does suffer a little bit on trading and he's not a very aggressive player and stuff like that. Just the way that Caleb plays compared to Troy doesn't impress me at all. Just, like, whereas Troy, it's like, ooh, that was cheeky, Troy, or, oh, he's behind me, but then you have Caleb, and he's just like, oh, Caleb stormed up the ramp illegally and reset our ammo to death.
Yeah.
I saw that coming, you know what I mean?
Hey,
Like,
man.
So,
Hey, there are times where he does it legally, and you scream at the top of your lungs because you can't do anything. So I don't want to hear
yeah,
it.
I don't want to hold that one time against Caleb forever, but I want to compare it to a Patriots game I saw the other day with the way Caleb plays. It's like, obviously they won the Super Bowl last year, and they're a really good team. They have all these great, well-known players. And because of that, there's no creativity on their part to ever get points, I feel like. It's like they just keep shoving the ball down the enemy's throat. Like, they just like, all right, we're going to run at you.
Might have to
We're gonna
deflate it a little more for that.
Go again. We're going to go again.
Let's not.
Disclaimer, I am trying football for the first time this year, fantasy football, so I don't know anything about anything. I just know that they won last year. So I assume they're a good team.
The only thing that I know is the only time I ever enjoy watching football is when the Patriots are playing. That's a fact.
Well,
Anyway.
Maybe I'll just take out
two
this part.
people that don't actually like football. What a surprise. So, next player that's on kind of the watch list for our roster is actually our boy Mischief. You're not allowed to talk about yourself,
But
unfortunately.
uh,
So this is gonna be mostly feels good kind of thing.
Hey. Shut up.
Luke is tall and the man is fast. He thinks about it and does the first or second thing that comes to mind. He gives himself two options and he just goes. And he tries to outsmart his opponents, but he does lack a little bit of the firepower. Like, he loses trades sometimes, but usually since he's playing heavy, getting shot once by a commander is not usually that, like, meaningful because he just gets resupplied right away. Which is... it's important. And he, like... I really love playing against him because he's really, like, my main challenge, I guess. Because him
Ouch.
trying to... oh, suck it, feel good. He tries to, like, think about what I'm doing and trying to beat that when I have a really hard time, like, trying to twist the way that I play in order to play against that, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So, like, he's trying to figure out a way around my maze, but I want my maze to stand strong, so I keep putting walls in front of him, if that makes sense. And that's kind of like, that's kind of what I enjoy about it.
The way that I think about Luke's playstyle, can you quit moving and making sound, please, for the love of God?
Barely moving.
Sorry, Luke. Anyway,
we love you.
the way that I like to describe Luke's playstyle to myself is he's like Troy and Caleb's love child, where he has the sneakiness and the connivingness of Troy, but also that really intense firepower when he wants to that Caleb has. And I think that it's an incredibly good asset to have when you put someone like that on heavy, because they can be smart about where they are, what's going on, and also be a really intimidating force when you're up against trying to fight them. It's like trying to fight in a really it's like trying to fight an incredibly intelligent bastion, and it sucks, but it's great to have on your team.
Luke does this fantastic thing where if he tags you down, or if you tag him down, he yells exactly what you're doing while you're doing it, and you can't, like, stop him from doing that. So he just kind of does it, and everyone knows what you're doing all the time, and it's really obnoxious.
Gagging people is illegal, and I know it.
What?
Have you experienced this, Dylan? Have you experienced the Luke shrieks?
He's been gagged.
Not in a game of laser tag.
That's not what I'm talking about at all. Anyways,
I can scream whatever I want.
yep, and he does. He very, very, very loudly lets people know that he does not like it when you tag his resupplies. And so he calls back both his scouts and his commander. And gives you more points.
Oh. As Luke looks away.
No, I'm telling him to get out of my face.
Looks
That's
out
like
the window.
Everything I always do.
Yeah.
I was trying to remember what you're even talking about.
Anyways, so it's playing against Luke is fun and all, but having him on your team is so nice because I can just relax and know that if I nuke, there's going to be pressure and my heavy's going to attack. If I try to tag people and I need to get, like, resupplies, I know that I'm safe because Luke is a good heavy. It's just real nice. Like, it's real comforting having that kind of security.
I don't think I've ever played with Luke, actually.
Were you?
Okay.
Roast.
Gotta come play some Space Marines.
I will be
Dylan,
soon.
do you have anything to add before we move on?
No, I kind of said what I wanted to say about Luke. He's an incredibly intelligent bastion. He's like Troy and Caleb's love child. Yeah, he has Troy's intelligence and Caleb's lack thereof.
We're driving now, by the way. We got kicked out.
So what do I need to work on personally?
We don't know.
You need
'cause
to work
don't
on
play.
coming to
But I
space.
play. I play enough to know, like, to give you an idea.
You need to work on punctuality, mister.
Yeah.
You're always 5 hours late to practice. That's when it ends.
I think I'm always like a month late.
Every single week.
Okay, and that leads us to our final person, which is the Fear Turkey. He's all right.
It's all right.
He's pretty good. Next.
There's really not a way that he wouldn't be on the A team, honestly. Fear Turkey can play any role to a pretty good extent, where he's one of the top 3 or 4 people on our site who can do that role.
He's a top tier everything.
Fact is, he's just incredibly fast, incredibly accurate, and he's eager to learn how to do everything. And he's eager to change his game style when he has to. If there's anything with him, it's that he knows this, and he often assumes that what he's doing is the best way to do it, and he has a hard time changing his play style.
That's fair.
Ooh. And I get emo sometimes.
That's just a personal thing.
Oh. We're not going to talk about Sacramento then. All right.
Josiah can go into these
Yes.
modes where when he tries hard, you can tell he perks his body like really stiff, and he brings his arms close to his chest, and he runs around like a turkey with his legs just like kicking out while his body remains still. And what I mean by still is that it moves as one joint. When he bends over, like, the entire Josiah goes beneath the battlement that he's trying to hide behind. Like, he will duck all the way down, like a fourth of his size in an instant. And he'll spring back up all the way just as quickly. He's like a pop-up toy.
You should be the Fear Flamingo, because you just stick your head in the sand.
It's not as classy as the Fear Turkey, my guy.
It's true.
You don't eat flamingos for Thanksgiving.
Bet on it.
All right.
I've got a list.
Honestly, he's just not very matched in trading. He can, like, I can get him when I cheat a little bit, don't show my shoulder. But usually if I try to trade with him, I know he's going to get a shot off on me. It's a guarantee.
He was getting a little mad at me one game. I was playing Scout, I think, and he was a commander. And I was straight up doing it on purpose. I was pop-shotting him because I knew that there was no way that I'd win a trade if I had to stand up all the way before I fired. Like, I was like, I don't even care. I'll cheat to get this one hit point in because I'm dying anyway. But you're being a good sport about it.
Felt so dirty.
Yeah.
With you.
I felt dirty
In
doing
the words of Rusty,
proper.
the Brent Howe, play proper.
All right, we're going to wrap up this podcast here. So thank you guys. We'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.